He is a 4-time Bassmaster winner, a 4-time Classic qualifier, and he just happens to have the third biggest bag in Bassmaster. That sounded weird. The third biggest limit ever weighed in Bassmaster history. This week, from Longview, Texas, Lee Livesay joins me on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
It is Wednesday, November 1st. Welcome all friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks. You guys know the drill. You're all welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. Welcome into episode 134. It is the day after Halloween, so half the world is hopped up on chocolate and rockets and all sorts of stuff, and you name it. I mean, candy corn. People love candy corn. What's your favorite Halloween candy? I don't know. So the world's all hopped up on Halloween candy. Whatever your favorite is. I found out my parents would dig through my bag to make sure that nothing was, there was no razor blades in the candy or anything like that. You'd always hear stories like that. Turns out the only ones that they were concerned with were the ones that they liked. No, I'm sure they were digging for goodness, and I'm sure if your parents dug through your candies, it was for good reason, or if you were a parent that dug through candies, it was for good reason. So enjoy the candy, kick back, relax, because this week's show is always a fun one. Every single time he comes on here, we always have a great conversation, and he's a guy who I spend a lot of time with throughout the year. A great dude and a proven winner. Hard to believe. I think this is going into his 6th season on the Bassmaster Elite Series. He's got 4 wins, 4 Classic qualifications. I mean, he is a closer. I mean, sometimes people will start and people will be like, well, they got to learn to close. He came equipped to close, and it is incredible what he has done so far. Well, I can keep talking about that, or we could just bring him in right now. From Longview, Texas, I believe, Lee Livesay. I know where he lives. I mean, I believe he's there. We'll find out. Lee, where are you right now?
I am at my kitchen table.
Nice. It looks like you're rocking a bit of is that a faux hawk? Would that be referred to as?
I think that is a faux hawk for sure.
Is that a new look for you? I mean, I'm used to seeing you with a hat on.
No, I've always had the faux hawk. When I get out the shower, I'll throw the faux hawk up until it falls down. It'll probably be down here in 15 minutes or so until I put my hat back on.
It looks good to start, though. It looks good to start.
Well, I kind of went in between. Do I wear a hat? Do I faux hawk it? Do I sock hat? I don't know. It's 43 degrees in Texas. I could wear a beanie, I guess. But
wow, that's the first cold front this year for you guys, right?
Yeah, the first real one. Just treacherous. Watch out on the roads. 43 degrees.
Are you a big Halloween guy?
No.
Not at all.
No, which, we have Brooklyn. She's 13 now. She's going to be trick-or-treating tonight and dressing up and riding the golf cart. I'm going to drive her and take Lane out on the golf cart and go trick-or-treating. So I guess I am. We just don't ever get many at our house for some reason. My front porch light hadn't worked for like 8 years. I think they don't show up the porches without a light on them.
I hear you. What's your favorite Halloween costume growing up? Do you remember one? Did you have one that was like, I am bitching today?
No, I wasn't the kid that liked to dress up like that, but I did dress up as Beetlejuice one time probably in college, and it was legit. That was probably the most I've ever went to actually perform on Halloween.
I didn't have any good costumes. I mean, dude, when I think of Halloween, I think of my parents we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and we would end up either we'd be a hobo where they would just put Vaseline on your face and put a bunch of tea all around your face to make you look like a hobo. I think we had a clown costume, and then if you wanted something like that was of that time, we'd go to a store and buy one of those plastic costumes, like the super cheap ones. But in
Oh, yeah.
Canada, they don't work real well because it's colder. So like the first step you make up somebody's stairs, it is full crotch rip. Some people are nuts for Halloween. There is a lot of people who go crazy for it.
Oh yeah, my neighbor's got spider webs all across his yard. I'm looking at him right now. He's all about it.
For those of you confused, obviously we recorded this the day before, or we recorded this on Halloween. So don't worry, Halloween is not a different day in Texas. But have you all is the golf cart? Is that just because where you live? I mean, longer driveways, or what? Is that always how it goes on down there?
Oh, just I think for the kids, it's the more houses they can hit, the more candy they can get. So it's just a time deal. Instead of having to walk around, they're gonna get carted on the golf cart and then go to the rich neighborhood after that. She told me she had some neighborhood where it goes down. So she's gonna go with a friend to the neighborhood where they got the good candy, I guess, after they use me on the golf cart.
Well, that sounds like good times. Well, Lee, before we get, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, it's been a while since I've had you on here, but the fishing industry has no shortage of topics right now. But before we go any further, I mean, you did something on this show that I don't think any other guest has ever done, or I've even done. And that is promote this episode before this episode was actually recorded. Obviously, it was kind of highly publicized. What we talked about last year, with the change in boats. And I appreciate you for announcing that here. And I appreciate you for obviously saying on social media, you're going to announce what direction you're going with your boat in the future.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was the place to do it after we did the show last year on what had happened with that, and I didn't ask if I could preview promo it, so I just did it. So
it's always the best way. Just go ahead and do it. So how are we gonna do this? We're gonna like string this along like the LeBron decision? Are we how do you want to announce this? What are you doing? I mean,
yeah, I guess we should have talked about that, but we never talk about anything before we do this. We just push record. It was cool to see the companies that reached out to me when what happened last year. And I can't thank all those companies enough, from Blazer to Phoenix to Vexus to BPS and Triton and those guys. I mean, I had a lot of companies reach out, and I appreciate all of them. You can only run one boat. And, especially Phoenix with Teresa and Gary, I've ran a lot of their boats. Ship sells their boats down the road where I work out of, or where I run my boats out of. So can't thank those enough. Phoenix has been family to me for a long time. And it was nice running in Phoenix again this year, but I found a new family, Dave, and this company reached out to me, early on in the spring, and just wanted to get my thoughts on what I, wanted to do, not last year, but, 2024 and the rest of my career. And they're really right down the road. They're only 3 hours away from my house. Had multiple meetings, top to bottom with everybody there, and it just felt right. This was when I was talking to everybody, trying to find a new home for the rest of my career, because I don't want to bounce around like I had the last couple of years with what's been going on. So, they just felt like family, and took me in their doors, the whole facility, the whole operation. Their long time, their history is, years and years and years, from everything from little boats to the biggest boats and bass boats and bay boats, everything in between, and I couldn't be more happier to join the Express Boats team. Rory, Clay, Bobby, Pee Wee, everybody there at Express, opened up the door and brought me in just, like I was family, and not only just fishing the elites, but, they like the hunting side of it, duck hunting, deer hunting, just the outdoorsman, being an outdoorsman, and not just hunting. I love to do everything: crappie fish, catfish, run trot lines, noodle, and just be on the lake with my family and, my friends, my mom and dad, friends, everybody. So it just felt right. And obviously they make a great boat. They're major joint account with Yamaha motors. So I'll be running a Yamaha motor.
Oh, cool.
From now on. And couldn't be any happier to be with them. A great motor, great history there. But it's mainly just that express family atmosphere that drew me to them. I can't be more excited, to run a 21-foot aluminum rig like that with a show on it and be part of that family. I've known Rory a little bit through the walls, more duck hunting than anything, and Clay Connor at Express, who's the main guy that hooked me up with all this. To be honest, that brought me in the door and introduced what I can do with my brand and fishing the elites to Rory and the Express staff. And we went back and forth all year. It wasn't just a one and done deal. And, we made it work on my end, their end, Yamaha's end. Everybody's happy. Everybody's going to be happy. And we have a really good extended long contract. And I hope to be in an Express Yamaha the rest of my career, and can't be more excited.
Wow. I guess I'm kind of shocked, but it makes sense too. Obviously, you travel with Caleb. There's connection there. It's a company that's close to you. Why 10? I'm assuming you tested this out and went, ever you wouldn't have made a decision like this without, I'm sure.
Right. And I've been in their boats, obviously, with Caleb and Jason and Bill and a lot of the guys on tour. I've been in and out of their boats fishing when we're on the road, whether it's on a day off or just messing around with Caleb or whatever, and obviously I've been in a boat, since all this started in Clay's boat. And man, they are high performance aluminum boats. I can't be more happy. I mean, there's a lot of different variables to make them great boats. I mean, we see guys winning all over the board in aluminum boats, from Cox and a Crestliner to Gussie and a Lund, and obviously Bill and in the Express, and what Christy did in the Express, winning the Classic and multiple elite events. So I mean, it's all over the board. It's not just Express. It's tin's hot right now, aluminum's hot in the fishing industry, and it shows us, that you don't have to go spend $115,000 on a glass rig to win anything. Whether you're fishing a Tuesday nighter, or fun fishing, saltwater fishing, bass fishing, or fishing the Bassmasters Classic, it's been proven what's happening in the aluminum rigs. There's pluses, minuses, everything in between. I can win in it, and I can do everything I need to out of that Express X21, and I'm excited to showcase what it can do.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Breaking news. I mean, that doesn't often happen on this show. I think it only actually happens when you come on this show, it turns out. No, good for you. That's great news. Welcome to Team Yamaha. I mean, I've obviously worked with them for 30 years now, which means I'm old as dirt. And I know the guys at Express Yamaha, they, Clay and everybody there. It's incredible. I love companies that, one company can't dominate an industry, and I know they all compete with each other, but
yeah,
we need them all. And I've always said that to Clay and the folks from Express. It's great to have you guys involved in bass fishing. I feel the same way with Gussie and the Lund connection. It's great to have, because for years there was no aluminum boats, and now we're in a situation where the last two classics have been won out of an aluminum boat. So seeing that, did that make this decision easier, or did it in your head just to be like, well, we're seeing success with these guys?
Honestly, it did. I mean, obviously,
it
should for anybody. That's just what it is. But I talked around. I talked to everybody. That's ran an aluminum boat, Express to Crestliner, to anything. Just asked all the negative, all the positives, and man, it's mainly positive, and it's proven, that they can win doing anything. Express is huge. Obviously I know they're huge and a big company and a great brand, but golly, when I walked in the facility there, it just kept going and going and going. But you got to understand, man, they're making duck boats and center console crappie boats and bay boats and everything in between, everything you can imagine. I still don't even know what all they make. And they have their pontoon line up there in Hot Springs too. And it was just cool to see everything they do and how great of a process it is. I've been to different factories, the Skeeter and the Phoenix and stuff like that. And it's cool watching how these big companies like that, their process in making the boats, and Express has theirs down packed. I was really impressed by the facilities and how they make their boats, which helped me,
Yeah.
because I've not going to name names, but I've seen other facilities that were not ran top of the line, to say the least. So it was cool to meet them, and it was like I keep saying family, but that's what it was, man. They brought me in and they were like, man, let's, not what can you do for us on the Elites. It was like, can you go duck hunting this winter, and deer hunting over here, and come meet with the crew and stuff like that is what drew me in. So I'm excited, and I'm not going to sit here and just plug Express Yamaha the whole time, just because that's not what we solely got on here for. We got on here to talk, but I've been excited about it. This contract's been done for months now, and I've been having to hold it in and lie to everybody about what I'm going to run and everything. So it's good to get it out there, and I'll be looking forward to, getting a lot of people, clients on Fork and people in general in the boat, and letting them see how it runs, because that sucker will run.
Well, very cool. Congratulations. One of the things you hit on there, and I think that is the most underestimated thing in pro fishing, but that feeling, like when you say family, I've said that to you before about my relationship with Phoenix. I feel like, honestly, like it in such a crazy time, you can't underestimate just how important it is to feel like you are part of something, and they're part of your family. Do you realize how rare it probably is in today's world? Like, with as tough as the economy may or may not be, as tough as pro fishing, the amount of pro anglers out there. But when you're telling me about, I talked to this company and this company and this company, to have that many companies interested in you running their product, that has to be pretty flattering. And you're in a pretty rare air, because that's just not the truth of today's industry, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it was, and I said that, to give all them a shout out. Chris from Blazer was awesome, man. I worked with him a lot of the year trying to get some stuff done, and there might be another elite angler coming out that's in a Blazer that will be a surprise out there. I'm not going to spoil that, obviously. So they got them a good one too. And like I said, with Teresa and Gary and Andy, I love Andy. He's our Phoenix mechanic that travels with us, and he'll work on anything. If you break down in a party barge out there, he's probably going to help you. So I can't thank those guys enough. And Dustin at Bass Pro Shops, and everybody that I talked to, man, they were all great. I can just Guck and some of those guys over that are working at Vexus now that just reached out to me. Couldn't make it happen for all of them. Obviously, you can only run one boat, so it was good to have good people reach out to me and have good conversations and enjoy it, and at the same time be able to say, hey, I appreciate everything, but this is what I'm choosing for my family and my future, because that's what it's for. So I'm excited.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, I look forward to watching you compete in that boat. And as I said, welcome to Team Yamaha, and Express, obviously a great family, and I think a great fit for who you are. I mean, for your image, that it isn't a created image. I mean, it's who you are, but it definitely lines up with who you are. You got to feel the same way, no?
Oh yeah. I mean, whatever you want to call it, but just the whole Whiskey Myers and the Bush Light and the Sixth Sense and Easy Step. There's so many little pieces of the puzzle, and being from East Texas, they're only 3 hours away. I'm more of a coon-ass redneck than a professional fisherman for sure. I mean, me and you talk, every week or so, usually in the woods, breaking something or drinking a beer or killing something or doing something outdoors.
Sometimes all the above.
That's every day, pretty much. But it fits. It really does. I like to jump on the Sabine River and run trot lines and limb lines and go shoot a duck and a doe and enjoy a nice cold bush light afterwards, listen to some Whiskey Myers. And that's kind of what, I've wrapped my hands around not only my sponsors, but the companies that I'm with. It's cool. I can, like Whiskey Myers played in Tyler a couple weekends ago, and just, Chris and them boys, and drove over there and jumped on the bus like we were one of them, and never skipped a beat, and had a couple beers and went on. And the same thing with other companies. I've got 6 Cents right down the road in Conroe, and I drive down there once or twice a year and just meet with all the guys. And it's nice to meet the people that work in the office too, not just myself, with the owners or whoever's writing my check. It's nice to go and talk to everybody and be able to sit around with guys and just bullshit. Honestly, the night after the Whiskey Myers concert, me and Chris and Todd, the guy that drives the tour bus, we all went fishing up here in Mount Pleasant on Cavender's Lake and just smashed them. It's fun to enjoy your friends that you're partnered with.
Yeah, you got the right partners if you consider them friends. And that is the truth. I hate when you hear stuff like, "Oh, business doesn't mix." Friends and business don't mix. And I agree with that for a certain extent. Like, you don't need to call your best friend and say, "Hey, I need this done," or you know what I mean. That can cause problems, but that's our industry. Like, when you start working with a company, you become friends with that person just because that's how our industry. I mean, everybody that's in it is in it because they love it. But if you listen to the media now, dude, it may seem like our industry is freaking on fire because, I mean, it just seems like, first of all, in ridiculous news, did you see that those idiots, the walleye poachers, have now been charged with allegedly he couldn't hunt since 2008, but he does have offenses between 13 and 21. And now Chase Kaminsky, the dude who was all the news for the walleye stuff, has now been charged with the hunting stuff. So at least that's ridiculous stuff in the fishing industry that has nothing to do with tournament fishing. But there's been a lot of crap floating around. Is that just the off season?
I saw that guy got busted for counterfeit $100 bills with his 13-year-old kid or something. that guy is just a lifer. Right.
Sent his kid to the bowling alley. I think his kid was 18, but still, his kid, I think whatever age his kid was. But when I read it, sent his kid to the bowling alley to spend some $100 counterfeit $100 bills. So I guess once a thief, always a thief.
Yeah. No, and dude, I'm with you. I've obviously there's all kinds of stuff going around right now with forward-facing sonar and schedules and opens and Major League Fishing and all the crap going on over there, and I stay up to date on my social media, and I just see all these negative comments, and it's nobody fishing, it's people just talking, but it's just, oh, the professional fishing is just a dumpster fire right now, and it's just trash, and you can't make a living. I see so many little YouTube, you can't make a living being a professional fisherman, and professional fishermen cheating and all this stuff. And dude, it's just trash. There's so many people making a great living for their families in the outdoor industry, not only fishing the elites, but there's a million jobs out there for professional fishing, from companies like 6 Cents to Express to you. I don't even know what you do besides MC and underwater shoot. So
just talk.
It's cool to actually see how good the professional fishing industry really is, and sit back and watch the people that are sitting there talking crap about it that don't have any idea. And maybe it is out there, and I'm just in my own little bubble having a good time, but I'm enjoying it very much.
There's definitely stuff going on that's, needs to be talked about to a certain extent, but I really think that a lot of it too is, hey, if I put the title to this podcast, Lee Livesay, the fishing industry is a dumpster fire, this podcast will get 10 times the amount of plays than if I just put Lee Livesay, happy to be living his life. It's just, it's the negative world that fishing I don't know. I don't get it. Like, I think it's social media. I mean, it gets traffic. I guess I don't know. How do you stay? You're doing a job that if you go online, people will say you can't do. I mean, without becoming a different person, a YouTuber, this, and which is stuff you are doing and doing very well. How do you stay sane in it? Do you just ignore all that chatter?
Yeah, you just have to ignore it. I mean, I could very easily make a YouTube video and put whatever kind of clickbait on there and say whatever. I killed Caleb Summerall or something. I don't know. I see it all the time, and a bunch of my buddies do it. Milliken, love him to death. He's
king.
He's the king of clickbait. And I just talked to him a second ago of what's going on with him and his little controversy. But I'm just not like that. Just like I'm with Waterland sunglasses, and I'm sure you've seen the ad we have out with Matt Robertson's on our team as well, and the one of him in the mink coat and the big white glasses and all that with my buddy Zach in there. Have you seen that ad?
I have seen it. Yeah.
And like I was down there with him in a meeting the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm just want to make sure y'all know that that's not me right there. I'm not gonna do that photo shoot. And I know that photo shoot sold so many more sunglasses than I did. I know it sold to every whatever grown-up kid, whatever in the world. And I understand the advertising, and I love Matt to death and understand his genius advertising too. But I just want everybody in this room to know that that's not me. I'm gonna sell them my way. And they were all like, oh yeah, we know. So there's stuff like that on both ends, good and bad. And I think you just have to ignore it, like you said, or just smile at it and tell them that's not your style.
So no fur coats. We will not see you wearing fur.
No fur coats.
All right. I mean, it's taken anyways.
Not on an ad, at least.
Just on a casual fun night out, but not on an ad.
Just a couple of nights deep.
Where are you at with your career now? Where do you feel? I mean, dude, you are one of the winningest. I think you're the winningest pro on the elite since the split. Like, literally, I'm trying. If I'm wrong, somebody's going to correct me anyways, and we'll find out. But I mean, you've won 4 events. You're qualified for 4 classics. So, I mean, if you're not the winningest pro since the split, I mean, you're right there with somebody else who I don't know. Jason Christie has won a few. Brandon's won a few, but I still think Christie's won 3. Brandon's won 2 since coming back. So I think, dude, I think you're winning this. Yeah, Patrick
3.
Yeah, he's right there with you.
He's won 3 NPFLs too. So I mean,
yeah,
he's up there too.
How do you feel about your career at this point?
So I'm happy about it, but it's weird. And we talked about this after I won 4 in like 2 years that, man, you don't win one year. Everybody's like, what the hell is going on? And I kind of felt like that this year, not other people, but myself. And I just had one of those, I had a great year, made the classic and, had some great cuts and great classic finish and all that. But, it's just winning for me. I like to win. I want more trophies. And it was just one of those years where it felt like I never even almost found the winning fish anywhere. When in the last 6-7 years of my fishing career, and that's fishing champs and opens and the 5 years of elites too, man, it felt like I was always on a winning group of fish at 80% of the events. And obviously it only works out a couple of times. Yeah. And it felt like last year I never even got on a winning group of fish ever, like at any of the events. Like, you have the feeling like you might not know how to close it because you're not familiar with the lakes, being an elite guy. But, even a lot of those opens, when I was doing good there before I qualified, man, I was feeling good. Like, man, I can win off of this if it works out, if they last, kind of stuff. And the same thing fishing bass champs and stuff like that. And I did win a big tournament this year. I won a Brandon Bell on Ray Roberts in February. I kind of forget about that, but not an elite, so me in the future is just winning more trophies and keeping my sponsors happy that I have in my circle for 15 years, 20 years, however long I fish. I'm comfortable with what I have as far as that family atmosphere from top to bottom, everybody. especially joining the express deal that we talked about. That was kind of the closing. You can't have 100 sponsors.
Yeah.
You can't work for 100. In my mentality, you can have around 20 max, maybe a little bit more. I've had more than that, 23, 24, 25 or less.
You've had 25 sponsors at one time?
Well, probably 23 or 24 when I was first coming in, because some of those deals were $2,500 deals, $5,000 deals, just honestly people trying to help me get started.
Yeah.
But then I was giving them 2, 4, 5 guide trips to each buddy to try to make everybody happy. And you can't do that until you kind of collaborate everybody. And the longer you fish and the more you win, you're going to get paid more, obviously, as long as you're delivering your deliverables and being a good human being, I guess. So, but like I was saying, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. I kind of had a weird year where it was a good year, but it didn't feel great.
Yeah.
I felt like I had a lot more potential to expand, and it just didn't happen this year. So I've been really focused, honestly, doing a lot of studying, which I always do, but it's feeling back right. And, I just want to have an opportunity to win a couple more events next year, anywhere, and I might fish a couple other deals on the side just to fish a little bit more. I think I need to fish a little bit more. Obviously we had Lane last year, or, year and a half ago now, year and 6 months ago. So, dude, I didn't fish a lot when I was home. The least I've ever fished in, since I was 13 years old was last year, not counting fishing the elites and the classic, obviously. So, just getting back in the boat, and I'm going to do a lot of fishing this winter time, Fork, Toledo Bend, just around the house. And kind of get back in the groove of things a little bit more, and I might pre-practice a couple events this year. I don't know. I'm not big on that. I usually pick one or two to do every year. So I might do that. I'll probably do the classic this year. Actually, I've never pre-practiced the classic, I don't think. So I'll probably go up there and pre-practice Grand before it goes off. I really want to win another tournament. That's it. And a whole bunch more, and produce content for my companies, and hunt and fish and enjoy my family and my friends, and that's it, man.
So when you say you do a lot of off-season studying, what does studying look like for you? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, 90% of it's on my laptop, not looking at past tournament results or lures or anything like that. I'm a Google Earth guy and a Hot Maps guy. Just looking at my Lake Master map, from Humminbird at the lakes, and looking at Google Earth, looking at the lake, and just, it's not saying, oh, there's a rock point there, or there's a gravel bar there, or, oh, there's low water, I can see a brush pile there, clay point, whatever. It's everything, it's putting contours to the map without doing it. It's looking at, I can look at a lake, whatever it is, Grand Lake, so to speak. I've been there one time for an open, got my butt whipped. But I broke the lake down on Google Earth and my my Lake Master on my iPad. And, I probably got 500 or 600 waypoints on there where I think I can pull up in late March and catch a bass, and if I have 500 of them, then I get there and I only get to look at 100 of them. And then 10 of them produce, and then I find another 10 that, obviously the stuff I looked at is not always going to work out ever, but it gives me somewhere to start. And it gives me, if I find something like, hey, man, I can look back at my computer and say, hey, you marked a flat gravel bar over here in front of some willow trees, and you found a brush pile there and 8 foot of water. Where can you reproduce that? And I can have it all there. Like, I'll break down 80% of the lakes before Christmas completely.
Wow.
On computers and on my Lake Master map. And it never works out, ever. But it's like being at the lake. It's like I can go to Grand Lake for a week. I can't go do that and be away from my family and daughters and my wife and companies and stuff. I mean, hopefully I'll get up there for 3 or 4 days when I actually have to be on the water looking, but it's not the same. So it's like having eyes on the lake Somewhat, and that's how I break stuff down, is all computer and iPad, just Lake Master Mapping and Google Earth.
When you said last year didn't kind of feel the same, is that just result based, or like going into events where you thinking it
No,
felt different?
no, I don't know. I honestly can't. To be honest, I started off the year really good. I kind of felt, I'd fished the first two events, two top 20s, like 20th, 25th, two places where was it? It was Okeechobee and Seminole. I'd never been to either one of them. So I felt good. And I actually felt like I could have done a lot better at both of them. I just didn't realize what I had until the third day and it's over, Like if I'd have known more now at Okeechobee, I feel like I could have top 10'd it, not one
Yeah.
or anything. And same thing at Seminole. I was just so close. So that was great. And then I went to that belt. I won the belt on Ray Roberts, got first in that, made 60 grand almost, and then went to the Classic and finished 12th or 13th, whatever I finished this year at the Classic. But I felt like I was in that top 6, 7, and I was at some point in time. And it just, I didn't get a bite here. There wasn't nothing to compete with Gussie, but one little spot I felt like. So I'm like feeling it at this point in time. And then we went to, what was after the Classic? Do you remember?
After the Classic was
Murray?
yeah,
Murray.
I think might have been Murray. Yeah.
So we went, yeah, it was Murray.
Yeah.
We went Santee Lay after that.
Yeah.
So went to Murray, had a top 13 there. I was 12th or 13th, like should have made the top 10 easy. So at this point, I'm like, dude, I might win AOY. I mean, that's how you got to think as an angler. I'm not like Paul and act like I don't think about it, because I was sitting in way up. I was in the top 6 or 7 in AOY, going into Santee, and just, I wish Santee would just spring a leak and drain. I've been there 3 times and I've missed the cut all 3 times. It blows my mind. It ought to be right up my alley. And this time I had a great practice. I stayed away from everybody talking about all this eelgrass and all these main lake trees where Luke catches giant bags and where Matt was catching them and Drew I didn't go down there like an idiot, just because I knew what I wanted to do, knew where I wanted to do it, and I had a great practice, had a great shad spawn deal going on up the river, and had some giants up in jacks on a frog. I thought I could catch 30 pounds a day frogging if the weather was right, and they ate it. I had a 9 in practice, shook a bunch of big ones off one day, but I had this really good shad spawn in both of them. And I had to pick, which one are you going to go to first? Like one of them was like guaranteed you're going to go catch 17, 18 pounds with not a big ceiling, but if I go into jacks, I might catch 30 pounds, quick. Or maybe you catch 20, 30, 25. And I was in the 80s or 90s the first day. I caught like 2 or 3 little bitty bass on a wacky worm up in the swamp or stump hole, whatever they call it, where I'd had 20 or 30 bites a day shaking them off on a wacky worm. I'm talking about backup stuff. Like this is after I didn't catch anything on the shad spawn. I started in jacks and just didn't happen and went up there. It was too late for my other one. And then I'll just go over here and stay up in the cut, and just didn't catch anything. The second day, I'm like, crap, I'm so far down here. I got to go back up there to catch up, So, and that's, I spun a hub or broke a prop here going out that second day. And it cost me I was going to go to the other shad spawn and just try to catch a biggest bag I could, and didn't make it up there because of that. Broke down, and just honestly, I kind of salvaged my day. I went up there afterwards and I caught like a 5.5 pounder on a devil's horse, like a prop bait style bait, a little bitty keeper. And I had 2 fish again at 3:00 or whatever time I had to be in. And I was coming back down, and I stopped where I'd never fished before, and I caught a 7 pounder, just randomly throwing on a 6-inch square bill. And it jumped me from like the 80s or 90s, whatever that would have been, up to 60s or 65th or something like that. So it kind of saved my day, but that was the turning point. And it just kind of messed me up. And then I went to Lay Lake, had a really bad event there, did the same thing, made terrible decisions, finished in the bottom right there. And then everything else after that was good again, but they were just 30s at the Sabine, 30s at Champlain, 30s at, here. And it was just a weird year because when you have two bad events like that, like I did back to back, it gives you a different state of mind. You're like, oh crap, I gotta get in the classic before I think about winning the world.
Yeah.
It was kind of a great year, bad year, had to salvage the year kind of deal. It just never felt right the whole year.
Yeah. It's but those salvage events, like you talked about, that's what wins angler. That's what makes you qualify for the classic. But the other thing that stood out as different this year is it was your first year kind of chronicling everything and going all in with the YouTube. And dude,
Right.
If you look at your numbers and you compare it to a lot of the folks that are doing it, your YouTube series is doing incredibly well. Do you think that may have pulled you away a little bit? Like, not using it as an excuse, but like going into this season, I'm assuming you're doing that again. Is there anything you're doing different, or how are your feelings after 1 year of doing that?
No, it was great. And we still actually have 3 more events to release. We've kind of been holding on to them, getting a little bit better viewership from late summer. So be looking for St. Clair, Champlain, and the St. Lawrence. They're coming out. We got them all done pretty much. So no, I don't think it was a distraction at all. And honestly, if Jesse did anything, he probably helped me on a lot of stuff, little stuff, grabbing my truck, throw the tarp on there, go in there and get this while I do this. He was like my little right-hand man. And you see some of the guys that have started them have a bad year when they first do it. I talked to some of those guys. I don't think it hampered me at all. It was cool. We're gonna get better and grow it, outside of fishing the elites too, all kinds of stuff. So that was good, not just for my brand, but for all of us, for Jesse. Jesse did a phenomenal job. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's almost too professional. Really enjoyed Jesse. I mean, he was so much fun this year. He's so malleable, dude. He could drink coffee with a priest or watch a crackhead smoke crack on the corner and be best friends with both of them. He was just that kind of guy. You could bring him into any situation with anybody, and everybody liked him. So Jesse was awesome. So was, we got to see Logan's personality kind of pop up.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Caleb already. He's the heart of the show for sure. So it'll just get better. We'll get more comfortable and better on everything. And I think you have 300,001 subscribers. I think we have 7,001. So we got some work to do if we're going to get on your level.
Well, dude, I think you're. If I look at your numbers, you guys are doing really well, and I compare it to like at a time when, there is a lot of anglers doing what you're doing. It's not like, when Palnick was one of the only ones doing it, and Hunter Shryack was real early and all of that too. But now everybody's doing it. Why do you think your stuff gets the plays that it does? Aside from, obviously, Jesse's incredible at his job. He does a great job editing it and puts it together, and it's beautiful. But aside from that, why do you think your stuff's getting the traffic that it does?
It's obvious. There's a lot of fishermen out there that are just like us. We're just normal guys. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be Brandon Palaniuk. I'm not trying to be Chris Zaldane. I'm not trying to be Wheeler or these guys that have these great YouTube channels that are, I'm friends with all those guys. Is why I'm mentioning their names, because I like what they put out and I like them as human beings and friends. But obviously we have to mute out Caleb a little bit every now and then. But we're keeping it real, letting most of the language fly, showing the highs, showing the lows, showing the struggle, talking about, whether somebody's having to make a payment the next week for the elites or for a car payment or whatever it is, and they need to catch them this week, and drinking beer and listening to Whiskey Myers and talking shit and just being normal guys, guys that get up and go fish the bass clubs on Saturday mornings, that's what they're doing. They're going out there to have their fraternity of their friends or their club, drinking beer, cooking food, just like we do. It's not all popcorns, piñatas, and princesses in professional bass fishing. There's distress and distraught, and we struggle, and we fight with each other, and we bring deer meat on the road and cook to cost cut down on costs, and we drink Busch Light and listen to Whiskey Myers. That's who we are, and that's what we want everybody to see. And I think that's why it's kind of grabbing. It's kind of grabbing that blue collar line of anglers and young kids too. It's not just about drinking beer. We're honest. We keep everything up front and show the struggles and the good too, obviously. And obviously Jesse is really, really, really good.
Yeah. His work's incredible. You do show it like it is. Some stuff though, I mean, one of the greatest gifts that the Elite Series has gotten in recent history is a little man from Japan called Takumi Ito. And I think you're doing your job to like corrupt him. I mean, I've seen you make tell me about getting Takumi Ito to shotgun a beer.
So it's not shotgun a beer in Japan, it's Shikana beer.
Shikana beer.
So he did shotgun a beer with us at lacrosse. Taku likes to drink a couple beers when he gets done with the event. Nothing wrong with that. He likes beer. Oh yeah, I love beer. I love beer is what he'll tell me. But so we're at Lacrosse, Wisconsin. We had all got cut. It was the third day, and everybody was over there. Gussie, Matt, Chris, Corey. That's when Matt and Caleb and Taku wrestled on the dock, and everybody saw all that. But what I'm getting at is why he called it Shikana beer. He shotgunned a beer, drank another beer, and was like, kind of tipsy, whatever. He was staying at the house next door. He didn't have to drive anywhere, so we kind of got him inebriated. He walked back to his house, couldn't find his house, and he lost his phone, I think. But that's a whole nother story. But so there was a video. Somebody had their phone out. Davey just missed this too, by the way. He just left. Or maybe he was there. I can't remember. But somebody recorded, me or Caleb or whoever. Jake was there. Jake might have done it. Recorded Taku shotgunning a beer. And we posted it on our stories. Everybody was laughing about Taku shotgunning a beer because Caleb was like, hey, man, you want a shotgun a beer? And Taku was like, shotgun a beer? Yeah. And he showed him how, to shotgun a beer. And then Taku did it. We videoed it. And well, like a week went by. I was like, he's not going to repost that to his story. So I get on there one day, and sure enough, he reposted it to his story, him shotgunning a beer with us. But it said SHAKANNA beer. I was like, Shikana beer? Is that some kind of like Japanese beer or something? So I screenshot sent to Caleb. I said, Shikana beer. And I was like, oh, he thinks we meant shotgun a beer. And his language was Shikana beer. So yeah, Taku shot Shikanda beer with us.
He's a pretty amazing little man. It's when you think of the stuff he's battled through, dude, like to be here, that's when you hear people say, oh, it's impossible to do it. And you're like, well, look what that dude did. I mean, and the amount of time he spends away from his family and the impact that how short a time it took him to make the elites. And same thing with Kyoya. I mean, the impact that he's had. But Kyoya is not as personable as Takumi, is he? Kyoya is just here to take everybody's money.
No, he'll talk. I try to talk to both of them as much as I can. I kind of mess with them more than anything. But Koyo, he'll talk to you and answer all your questions, but nothing more than that. Like I had him. This is funny. I just thought of this since you brought him up, and I'm a huge Koyo and Taku fan, obviously. But so Koyo won Champlain this year and was catching like 23.5 pounds a day. They all looked exactly the same. We were in weigh-in line one day, like the third day. He pretty much weighed the same thing in every day. And Taku was doing good, but he wasn't catching 23.5 pounds, And I was beside Taku in my tank, and Koyo was right across from us on the other side. And he was, showing his fish, and everybody was over there taking pictures. And me and Taku just had 20 pounds, whatever. Nobody was taking pictures of me and Taku. So I was sitting there talking to Taku, kind of asking him, what'd you catch him on, some of the baits and stuff. And that's when Koyo walked up and saw the fish, and Taku kind of looked at him and was like mean mugging him. I was thinking, okay, and he said, that boy, and pointed at him. And I was like, yeah. He goes, he just catch. If you were there and you heard him say it and the way he was looking at him, it was hilarious. He was like, dang, this dude's catching him. So he sees how good Koyo's catching him too, not just Taku.
Kyoya obviously highly touted And before we went live, I said, let's not even talk about that. But I kind of feel like we have to, just because we're talking about Kyoya. But the thing he's known for, obviously, is forward-facing sonar. He is 5 to 6 transducers, depending on who you ask. Yeah. My prediction is that there is literally a pro fishing arms race going on right now. We have people building boats. Like, I can't wait till the first event and see what happens. There's going to be dudes showing up with stuff hanging all over their boat to try to keep up. Are you part of that arms race, or how do you choose to?
Hell no. Definitely not part of that. And good for those guys doing that. That's just not my game. And I'll still keep my Mega Live on there, and I use it when I have to, when I go up north and certain stuff. I use it all over the world, but I'm not an all-in guy with it like Taku and Koyo. And I have heard some boat builds getting pretty serious. I think Zaldane's going to have a pretty interesting rig. So it'll be cool to see those guys like that. But then, I just saw John Cox top 10 in MPFL on Lake Lanier with no transducer on his boat going down the bank, while Patrick Walters went offshore with live scope. So it goes both ways. Me and my wife fight about this. Gosh, it almost would cause us our marriage about forward facing sonar, because she's a nerd. She's a computer nerd. She's a reader and knows everything in the world, and she's good at all that. But I'm hardcore, Matt Herron style. Screw that. I can win without it. And I have, and that's my game. So it'll be interesting this year to see what everybody comes out with and how many get one with it and how many get one without it. I've kind of put pen to paper on the numbers, and I'm ready to see what it comes out to be.
Well, you mentioned having Matt Herron. Even Matt Herron, like every second video I see him posting in the off season, he is practicing forward facing sonar.
I guarantee you those guys are still out there practicing with it, even though they're bitching about it. Don't get me wrong. Just like me, I'm not bitching about it. I'm just not I'm not going to have 10 transducers on my boat and use it everywhere. I'm still going to do other stuff. But I think, I don't know. It'll be an interesting year. I was against it. I thought Bass would actually vote against it. I really did. Or I thought they would limit the transducers to one.
Yeah.
And that's just me being honest on my side of it. I have a lot of friends that were hating on me for saying that, but I was against it. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for the sport, and kind of takes away from the fishing aspect and the knowledge and general fishing knowledge. I think, and it's still finding them and catching them with it, but it definitely rubs me the wrong way. And I'm not even going to get into my opinion more than that, but definitely ready to see what happens in the future.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, if nothing changes, what do you think the future is? Do you think, you hear people say it'll push fish closer to the bank, you'll have more, or do you just hope that eventually it is at least limited?
No, and I think it's either way. Nothing's going to change. It changed. I think it changed the learning curve to the sport for young or old anglers, whoever wants to use it and utilize it and be a better fisherman with it. I think it let them jump leaps and bounds over learning on the water for years and years of knowledge. And I'm past all that. It's not going to hurt me any. I didn't even have a transducer. I didn't even run front graphs on my boat until after the Classic this year, and I was in the top 5 in AOI and almost top 5 or top 10 in the Classic. So you don't have to have it, and I put it on. I didn't use it really for the next 3 or 4 events besides 1 or 2 spots an event. And obviously when I go to St. Clair and St. Lawrence and Champlain, I know I have to have it if everybody else has it. So I'm not stupid, but at the same time, I'm going to grab what I want to have confidence in and roll, and you can win stuff and do really good without it. So any young anglers out there that can't afford it, don't have it, don't want to have it, you can still do great without any forward-facing sonar anywhere in the world. You just have to catch them other ways.
Why do you think last year it blew up as much as it did? Like, especially at the tail end. Was it just the fact that we had a couple of smallmouth events in a row, and those are always going to be dominated by electronics?
100%. Those 3, especially, later, they were later in the year. St. Clair is just featureless. And the biggest fish I weighed at St. Clair, I wasn't scoping anything. I was throwing a big swim bait out there and just reeling it in and caught, one that got me in the cut. So you could do other stuff. I'm not saying 99.9% of the fish get caught with it that week, because they did. But lakes like St. Clair, where they're just out in the open floating around on little bitty pieces of grass, I mean, it's just shooting fish in a barrel with it. You have to have it if everybody has it. So that one gets dominated with it. Champlain, we were there so late in the year. Those fish were pelagic. They were on those alewives and whatever else they're eating out there that I don't know about, dude. That's just where they were. They were out, and it wasn't this or that or pressure or this or that. That's just what they do. They eat out there in the open that time of year. The 20 plus pound bags of fish that we have to compete. Now that Live Scope's there, if it wasn't there, we'd all still been competing. The weights would have just been a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And that's where I come back into, man, we still have great television. Instead of all of us looking at our screens, we'd all be weighing in 17 pounds to 20 pounds, throwing topwaters and chatterbaits and Carolina rigs and flipping grass for largemouth and frogging and swim jigging and stuff that's great for TV, in my opinion, over watching Koyo's back not cast for 45 minutes. It's great as an angler. It's fun. I love using it and utilizing it. But I sat at the St. Lawrence River on the Bass Live set there at the Antique Boat Museum with you or whoever I was with, Bowman and somebody. And I sat there and watched whoever, Patrick, I think. And they didn't make it. It might have been Koya, whoever. It doesn't matter the angler. I'm just saying who I remember it was. And all I did was see his back for like 20 minutes. And I'm sitting there having to talk about it. And I'm thinking about your job and Davey's job and the audience out there in the world. I'm like, I kind of got mad. I've already talked about this on a podcast. It might have been years I don't remember. I kind of got mad. I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to watch this as a fan, because I'm a fan of the sport. I know I did this on a couple podcasts. It just must not have been yours. And that's when I kind of like got, I wasn't mad because I was getting beat with it or mad because I don't like using it. It's mad because it wasn't a good show to me.
Yeah. I don't think anybody can argue that. And it definitely takes away from the show element of it. And there's some cool stuff that you see. I mean, and showing the graph, I get that makes it cool. There's some moments where you see, but not one of those moments equals what you felt when you saw Steve Kendi catch an 8-pounder on a frog at Okeechobee. None of those are anything like your topwater day on Lake Fork. That's what concerns me. I mean, it definitely takes away in that aspect. And then you hear people say, well, just show the graph and show the graph. And my answer to that is, yeah, I get that. But you realize you're showing a graph now. But that's like, I mean, this sport's been built on these great anglers, and now we're just looking at a graph. Like it just seems odd to me, but.
And it definitely helped with the graph showing.
Yeah. It helps.
Multiple people that are great fishermen and friends and whatever text me in those last 3 events, especially the third one, because they were tired and they were like, I'm not watching this. I'm turning Bass Live off for the first time ever because I don't want to watch this. And I kind of took that to heart when I came back and did those podcasts and talked about my opinion, and still am right now. And dude, some people were stopping watching because of that. And I don't want that to happen. I want people to keep watching us,
Yeah.
But anyway, I was saying that because NPFL just did their Lanier show. I watched some of it this weekend. They had the live screen. Everybody was scoping besides Cox, obviously. And the same, my buddy Jimmy is who I'm talking about, Jimmy Powell. He's one of the guys that texts me, death to bass because of live scope at the St. Lawrence River. And he said, what, actually, this is pretty cool. And I'm actually enjoying this just because of the screen. So I think if we're going to have that in the future, it will help.
Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to have it. I mean, it's literally plugging into, it's just a cable that comes out of your graph. It's not a science project. It's
yeah.
So I'm sure that's what we'll have in the future, but we'll see what the future of that becomes. Because it's definitely a topic that people, I mean, it's a polarizing topic. Nobody, I mean, that's why I'm say, like, let's not even talk about it, because the people that are against it won't hear part of the other side, and the people that are for it just tell the people that are against it, yeah, you're a relic. I mean, at some point, you just got to be realistic with. There's much good it brings, like educational wise, but there's much bad it brings with the entertainment of our sport, which I think to me is the most important thing.
Yeah.
What do you think of next year's schedule?
I like it. Obviously Lake Fork's on there. Everybody's going to say, oh, you're going to win again. But I like it. I don't have any history at Toledo Bend at all, really. I've been there very, very few times, 3 or 4 times I've been on the water ever. It's going to fish kind of like Fork. I'm going to like it. I'm excited about Toledo Bend that time of year. Honestly, it should fit right up my alley. I'll have a lot of decisions to make, where to go, where to look. It's a gigantic lake. It's 100 miles long pretty much, so you can't practice all of it for sure. It's going to put up some big weights. It could be very wind and weather variable there. We could have some cancellations or some really tough fishing at the same time, or it could be just lights out amazing too. So Toledo Bend is going to be awesome. Then we come to Lake Fork, late February, early March. That's going to be just gigantic weights. The weather could mess us up a little bit, but the weights will be huge. It's that weird time where like they're getting on the bank that week. I've had a lot of people just, oh, that's going to get dominated out there with, that's the week where, guys do the forward facing sonar stuff all winter long on Fork and just beat their heads in the dirt. And by late February, they're very, very hard to catch. And they could still get one out there, but I think you're going to see some great fish catches up shallow, 2 foot or less power fishing, old school style. And that, that one's always got potential to break the all-time weight record, and going to be some giant fish caught there. The weights will probably be higher than they have the last couple years there. They should be approaching that 120 plus range there if the weather's not just crazy.
Wow.
Should. I thought it was this last year too, though, and it didn't. And then we go to Grand Lake. Grand Lake. I don't have any history there besides that one open. It's a great lake. We're going to see some, it's tough that time of year. It's still tough. That's kind of the same time frame for Fork. They're almost about to be getting on the beds, or it could be 10 degrees there and they could be, out on brush and rocks still. So that one will be interesting. You don't catch a lot of fish at Grand ever that early in the year, but you catch good quality. So I think the quality across the board will be really good. It's right up my alley again, is what I'm getting at with those 3. And then we go to Florida, St. John and Harris back to back in April, when we've never been there. I've obviously never been anywhere in Florida that time of year, so that'll be cool. I watched what happened at Okeechobee in March last year. Not that we're going there that late, or that early, but it'll be close. I think there might be some great frog fishing and punching stuff like that we haven't seen when it's been more around the bed. So excited there to see, what the difference is. We've all been to St. John's a bunch, just not that time. So I'm excited about that. And Harris, I've only been to Harris once. Those will be right up my alley, should be. Then we go to
I'll just tell you, hold on.
Probably to Murray.
Yeah, right about there. I have it in my phone here. I just gotta.
Yeah, it's going to be Murray. So Murray's going to be later in the year than we were this year by quite a bit. I don't think I've ever seen anything go there that late, but it's a herring lake. They're still going to be on herring. I don't know if they get like offshore schools like they do here in Texas, or they get on brush piles with the herring schooling on top like they do at Lanier, or what. So they'll still be fish on beds and herring spawn going on, hopefully, maybe not. And just that'll be kind of just that's kind of that one and the Smith Lake one are both kind of up in the air for me. I don't really know anything about it. You can run up the river and frog and flip and do stuff at Murray. I know that. I'm going to definitely look at that one day. And obviously had a great event there this year, but I think it's just going to be a little long ways past that. I just don't know if they like go behind you or if they keep doing it up there where you can see them. So excited about that one. I'm just not sure. Then we go to Smith Lake in late June, pretty much the 4th of July on the biggest recreational lake around there besides Lake Lanier, from what I hear. And they say it's going to be kind of sketchy after 9, 10 o'clock as far as the boat traffic is, big barges and cigar boats and whatever. So I think that one's going to get dominated with forward-facing sonar, offshore suspended fish, more than likely. I'm going to dabble up there on the bank, docks and stuff for largemouth, see if I can figure that out. But I've never been to Smith Lake. A lot of these guys either live around it or fished multiple high-level events. There's a lot of our guys are Smith Lake locals or have a good knowledge. So maybe somebody will throw me a bone and put me into something. But that's one of those events I'm going to go in like 90% forward facing sonar, Humminbird Mega Live, looking for them offshore suspended or schooling, whatever it is, and just figuring it out. That'll be one of those I show up, figure out. Not scared to do that. And then the last three are
Smith Lake, then we go to Champlain and we go to Wheeler. Or do we go to St. Lawrence? But I think you missed Wheeler.
Oh, I skipped Wheeler. When is that?
June. That one is June 20th or June 13th to 16th. Right before Smith Lake, basically, or 2 weeks before.
So Wheeler, I've never been there, but there was an open there this year. I watched some of those guys. I think it's going to fish kind of small, but okay for our field size. I think it's going to kind of be tough, actually. Just that's kind of later. The fish have kind of been beat on offshore already. And I think there's a little bit of grass in there. That'll be one of those. It's like having a big Tennessee River Lake, but smaller or something. I'll just get out there and figure out if they're in grass, run up a river, behind the tail race, offshore, whatever. That'll be, I love fishing offshore. So I'll get there and idle for 3 days if I have to, if that's going to be the deal, and figure that one out. I'm just going to show up and fish that one too. And then Champlain and the St. Lawrence River are pretty much going to be exactly the same as this year. I've been to both of them, have experience there, and think I can win either one any day in and out.
You like that it's going to Waddington, which is much further up the river. How much is that going to change that event in your opinion?
I just think like the last time we went out of Waddington, I ran to the lake and did really good.
Yeah.
Not a lot of us ran down there, but a chunk of us did. And this time I think 80% of us will.
Yeah. Everyone's been to the lake.
25 out of the Southwest or something where it just takes you hours to get out there. And I'll spend a day or so in the river, but I think we'll all be sitting at the gas station down in Cape Vincent waiting to get gas on the way in or way out. I think that's going to be the biggest problem, is getting gas, because we're all going to show up at the same time. So I think we're all going to go to the lake.
Yeah. You got someone there cutting the grass or something? I keep hearing a noise.
Yeah, they're weed eating outside. Perfect timing.
At least we know. At least people aren't like, what's wrong with? I hear something. It's just, it's fine.
Halloween. There's a guy out there with a chainsaw. I don't know who it is.
Well,
I did just clean a deer out there. There's blood and guts everywhere. My mowing crew is probably like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, congratulations. Shot a deer last night and on your own property, which is got to be a great feeling.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was good. Eating good.
So what you look forward to this season? Obviously you're gonna have a great year. I would assume most of your seasons on the Elite Series have been great. But how do you change as an angler? Like you've been on the Elite Series now for a number of years, and I know as driven as you are and as hard as you work on the business end of things and everything, do you spend a lot of time, like, other than the research you talked about, like, but what do you take from each season? Like, for example, Classic aside, you've been to 3 of them already. You're going to your 4th. Is there something in your head that, like, this time I got to make sure to do this?
So I've never really prepared much for a classic. I just show up and fish them, because we do have a lot of practice time for the classics. We have like 4 days almost. They're spread out like a week and a half. It's weird. You get like 3 days, then you're off for 3 days, and you get a day. So 4 days is a lot to look. But honestly, this one, being the Grand's only like 6 hours away from our house, I'm actually going to spend a couple days up there and just kind of get a feel for the lake on the whole end. You know, Grand is notorious for getting mud coming
Yeah.
down the Elk River or the Neosho, whichever one gets muddy. I don't know, but just being prepared for weather changes. Hot, I think they could be on the beds that week, or it could be miserably cold and snowing, and it could be a forward facing sonar deal or a cranking deal on rocks, or I could have something really good way up the river and it rains, and I get up there and it's chocolate milk where I was leading the first day of the classic, and I got a bell and go, have backups. Just getting a feel for the whole lake. I'm going to go spend, like I said, 2 or 3 days there, and it's just when I say knowledge that you start gaining, you just mature a little bit, I think. And we see the 19-year-old, 18-year-old kids jumping on the elites and winning events and doing great too. Knowledge is however fast you gain it, I guess. I'm just a slow learner, but I think it just lets you make better choices and just sitting back and thinking of events and what could happen, all the variables, weather, spots, and just being comfortable to change on a dime and move, or at the same time sit in an area all day long, compared to jumping around too much, stuff like that. Knowledge like that, I think, is where I start feeling myself become a better angler, and just spending time on the water. I'm still a huge proponent for spending time on the water and just fishing, for whatever species it is. And last year I felt like I did that the least amount that I ever have in my life. So going into next year, it's going to be spending time on the water, whether I'm down the road crappie fishing on Lake of the Pines or fishing on Fork or Toledo or wherever, and just kind of getting used to fishing, staying in a rhythm. It's the same thing with anything in life. If you change tires for a living and you don't do it for a year, you're probably going to be sloppy on that first tire you put on that tire machine. But if you just did them for 10 hours, you're probably going to whip it out pretty quick. So it's the same thing with fishing.
Yeah. You still guiding?
Much as I can, very little, but as much as I can. I do a lot of filming more than anything, fishing and hunting. Like I'm going with Mossy Oak up in Oklahoma, filming in 2 weeks, filming with Mossy Oak up there, and then doing some hunting stuff with Express up in Arkansas early December. So I do a lot of hunting, filming in the fall, and fishing. I'll go film for 6th Sense and Halo and Netbait and all those guys in and out, trying to get as much content as I can for them so I can go mess around and do my hunting and play with the family the rest of the time.
Tell me your most ridiculous guiding story. I mean, I have so much respect for fishing guides because they go through so much, but I'm sure you got some good ones.
I don't have a bad guide story. And it's crazy how many people ask me that same thing. I never had like a bad client. I never had anybody flip. I mean, I've had well, how many 10-pounders do you think we're going to catch today? May 1st, when it's nails or stuff. I've had that, you just have to laugh at them or laugh with them and tell them, and just letting we've only got 2 10-pounders all year, that we're in March and February or whatever it is. So I've honestly never had anybody poop in the live well or do anything crazy or anything, honestly.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Wow.
I've that question a bunch. Like I think I got it asked at the Classic this year in Media Day, and I didn't have anything. And I've looked back and thought, man, no, I don't have anything. Like all my clientele are just perfect angels.
When you look back at 2023 as a season, I mean, you made the Classic, you had a good season, but outside of like this moment stands out because it was my best finish or whatever. What moments stand like when you like if you close your eyes and say, man, let's look back on last year, what moments stand out to you?
Stands out as far as a good thing or life or fishing?
Whichever direction you want to go. I mean, it might not be fishing, it might be something that you saw, it might be something incredibly embarrassing towards other people. I don't know, anything. You go any direction you want.
For me, the highlight of my fishing career or not career, but the year was probably at the Classic. On day 2, I didn't have anything. I had like one little bitty one or something, and I just stopped on this point. Like, I mean, I knew it was good. I'd fished it in practice and maybe caught a little largemouth off of it or something, but it just felt right. The water was clean in the section I came back through, and I'd been chasing all these smallmouth way down there and hadn't caught anything. And I was like, man, that I'd ran all the way back up in this largemouth area, and I pulled up and threw out there with a 1/4 ounce trap, and I hooked this great big, like a 5 pound smallmouth on my first cast. I didn't even think it was a fish. It was so big, and it jumped off. And I was like, oh my God, that would have got me in the cut to fish tomorrow. And, I was distraught and reeled my line in, and my marshal was sitting there tripping, and threw it back out there and yo-yoed it again and hooked another great big smallmouth and fought it forever. It was hooked in the side, fought it in, and landed that fish. And it like gave me new life. And I went and ran and caught another big largemouth and came in and made the final day. I was in the top 10 at that point in time, going into the third day in the classic. And that was probably the shining light this year, just when everything had been trash all day long and nothing had worked out. And I stopped on a largemouth spot and pulled up there and hooked 2 big smallmouth in a row. And it kind of gave me a rejoice for the day, and started running stuff that I knew was right, and ended up jumping way up inside the top 10 in the classic going in the final day to give you a shot. That's all you can ask for in the classic. I fished 3 classics now, and I've been in the top 10 all 3 times, at some point in time, whether it was the third day, second day, whatever. I've had the shot going into the final day in the top 10, the top 6 every single time. And that's what I want to keep doing every year, because that's the one I want. I want to win a classic AOY eventually. And so that's the next step on my pedestal, is the classic and AOY. But that moment right there, just in the classic, definitely was the fishing. And that seems so small and unpinnacle, but it was the highlight for sure. Like I said, everything was just nice and mundane this year and went right. Nothing too high, nothing too low. And enjoyed the year, enjoyed Lane. The life for me, the highlight was being home so much with my daughter Lane, and getting to enjoy her and spoil her and have her say daddy and mama as least as possible so I can rub it in.
Does that concern you? Moving forward, when you see just how hard, I mean, it doesn't get any easier as she grows. Does that concern you, that, for the foreseeable future of your life, you're going to have a battle of wanting to chase this dream of yours on the Elite Series, but really wanting to be home with your baby?
Yeah, but it's being an elite is good on the other side too, because when you're home, you're home.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to, and I still have to do all kinds of filming and work and all kinds of stuff all the time, just like you do. I'm sure you've been working since you got up this morning, and you just got in from the Redfish Cup or whatever it's called in Charleston or Georgetown, and that's all you do is work. I guess that's why you have 300,000 followers, and I don't. But it's a good thing to be an elite fisherman, because when you're home, I get to wake up and wake her up, take Brooklyn to school, wake her up, feed her, and be with her all day. And, Taryn still works. So I get to be with her a lot when I'm home, take her to the land, drive around on the golf cart, take her hunting and fishing, and just enjoy her. So I'm blessed to be able to be with her when I'm home, and not have to get up at 6 and go to work and come home at 5. I'm with her all day. So I double my time when I'm home. It sucks leaving, and it's going to next year, like I've been talking to Milliken. He's traveling with his wife and their kids next year. And a lot of people do that. And I've been talking to Taryn about maybe doing that in the future sometime. Can't get her to quit her job, but never know. Might happen in the future. Maybe a few events at least. I would like that.
How do you think Milliken will do in the Elite Series?
He'll probably get last place at every event, if I had to guess.
That's the best answer.
No, Ben's good. A lot of people knew I fished with him a little bit. Me and him have messed around just 3 or 4 times, fishing and filming all over Texas. We've had some really good stories that we couldn't put on film. That one complete disaster of a trip. But
well, you're welcome to share it with me right here.
It's way too long. It involves Ben and a cop and like 10 different lakes in one day, and coal and every cheap beer you can buy in West Texas. And it was a good road trip with 0 fish caught. But I think Ben's going to do good. What I was saying was a lot of people when he started fishing the opens, he did good at Eufaula, and then or before that, they were like, "Man, this guy's going to bomb." And all my close friends and people that reach out, you think Ben's actually a good fisherman? He's just a YouTube live scoper. And I was like, I've been around a lot of YouTube guys that couldn't really fish, or guides that really couldn't fish that were just really good guides, and Ben can fish. Like,
Yeah.
he can whip it. He's really good at what he does. He does what he's really good at. He figures out how to make it work. If he ever faults, or he's gonna fail somewhere, obviously he did in the opens this year. That's just, everybody does. I don't know where it'll be. I think he works on everything harder than anybody out there. And I actually just got talking to him, but he's got some growing pains too, whether it's shallow water without live scope or whatever it is. I think Ben's going to do great. Who knows? He might come out and win a couple events, or he might have the rookie struggles, but he's going to have a great career and do really good in the fishing industry, which he already is. And Ben's a good guy. He does the clickbait bullshit for clickbait bullshit. That's what he does. I mean, it ain't like he's enjoying that. I mean, maybe he does. I don't know. I didn't ever ask him that. And he'll probably get mad at me for saying that, but that's just what he does. It's business. He draws. He's a YouTube freaking superpower. He's got 500,000 followers on every outdoor avenue that you can on social media. You can't compete with that. That's bigger than anybody in the game, pretty much, as a YouTuber from freaking Nebraska. If he does have a downfall, it's being a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, because they suck at everything but volleyball right now. But
are they good at volleyball?
I think they won something. I sent them a picture the other day of the women's volleyball won something. Maybe it was co-ed or something, but they did win some kind of co-ed volleyball championship the other day. But no, Ben's a really good guy behind the scenes. You see a lot of just like Iaconelli. Iaconelli is nothing like Iaconelli behind the camera. And Iaconelli's grown his business great, yelling and kicking stuff and yelling at dogs and whatever he's done, breaking rods. So Ben's doing the same thing in his stream, and he's making a very good living doing it. And he's going to be very good on the Elite Series too.
If a 10, 11, 12-year-old version of you got to look into your life right now, what would shock them the most?
That I was actually fishing professional for a living. For sure. I mean, when you're that young, you don't think it's possible. You just want to do it. You don't think you'll ever have the money or have the in or do good enough to do it. I've been a fisherman my whole life, since before I could remember fishing. That's all I've ever done, not just bass fishing, but fishing. So when you're addicted to something like that, you want to do it. Like, you want to be a professional, but you just don't ever think you can, especially when I was 11, there wasn't YouTube or all these shows you could watch, and all these, it was my uncle Ed, who's passed away now. He was recording all the Bassmaster tournaments, the Orlando Wilson Fishing Show, Hank Parker, Bill Dance on a VHS tape, and would mail it in the mail to my parents. And I would watch. I still have all the tapes, or my parents do, and I would watch them whenever he sent them to me. So it's just a dream until you get there. So if I was looking there right now, I'd be like, holy shit, you're actually fishing professionally. At that age, you don't really want to fish professionally. You just want to fish for the rest of your life. That's all you want. That's all you think about when you're addicted to a sport like that.
All right, I'm going to throw names out at you, and I want you to tell me something about them. You can be it can be 2 words, it can be 2 sentences, it can be 2 days, whatever direction you want to go. We'll start with easy stuff. Caleb Sumrall.
I feel like we should be drinking for this part of the.
Well, there's no rules here. You giddy up.
It's 1:42 in East Texas. Caleb Sumrall would be low head, big ass crackhead. Like, he is a crackhead half the time, all over the place. If he would just calm down. Like Santee Cooper, he fished both lakes from Jack's to the bottom of Moultrie, or whatever the other lake is. Never been on it. He can fish 3. Everybody will be. I'll see whoever. I'll see Bill Lowen at the boat ramp, or Jason Christie, or whoever. They'll be like, golly, I saw Caleb running like hell through them stumps over there. then, I moved ramps 50 miles down the lake, and then hell, I saw Caleb run out of gas out there. He's floating gas cans out there to him. So Caleb's a really good fisherman. His mind just goes 100 miles an hour. Really good friend, really good guy, and he just he's had some good success, won some stuff, and I think he'll calm down one year and keep the trolling motor down in the water and do really good like he has already and proven. He's a hard worker, good dude. He's a guy you want in your corner when you're walking down an alley at night for sure.
And he has walked down some alleys at some nights. Brock Mosley.
The preacher man. I think Brock's going to retire and be a part-time farmer and part-time preacher. I talk to Brock about every week. He's a really good human being. He's a professional farmer now, really good fisherman. I look up to him as a fisherman on what he's done, honestly, and he's done it his way. From before I fished the elites until this year, winning an elite after he got like 4 seconds. Brock kind of fishes like me, honestly. Without the live scope stuff, I think we kind of fit the same mentality, pick up a vibrating jig, square bill jig, top, whatever it is, and figure it out without being too high up there. Brock's a grinder. He can go to, he's a really good opens angler too. He's good at making something that looks like crap shine. When I say that, if you're running down whatever lake they're fishing in with 200 boats in an open, Brock's gonna top 10 off the worst looking bank over there every time. So Brock's a good friend and a really good angler.
John Cox.
That's all you can say about Cox. Cox is Cox. Just happy-go-lucky Cox, catches him everywhere he goes. I don't know Cox good enough to talk shit about Cox. I wish I would. Like, I mess with him as much as I can. I yell at him. Every time I drive by him on the lake or river, I yell Cox juice. And he's never responded in way in line or social, like he's never. So Cox might not like me, I think. I might be the only person on earth that Cox doesn't like, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Like, I try to entertain Cox and he brings me no entertainment back.
He likes you. I mean, John Cox can't not like anybody. He likes everybody.
I stick a foot out there every time I'm around him, and he'll smile and laugh and turn around real quick.
I've never heard anybody think, I don't think let's call John Cox right now. You want to do that? Let's see if we can call him right now and see if he likes you. That's all I'm going to ask him. Then I'm going to hang up.
Long distance charging.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, this could be really bad if he says.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Good for a podcast, bad for you.
I think he's out in the swamp filming something right now.
He usually answers. This is so embarrassing.
Maybe you're calling the wrong John Cox. There's another John Cox in the NPFM.
I only have one John Cox's number.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just hang up before John Cox's number is spread. Oh, he's calling back and I hung up on him. Damn. Hold on. He called back and I hung up on him. Cox?
Hey man, what are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
Oh, just working on tackle, actually.
Hey, I'm in the middle of making a podcast right now. Do you like Lee Livesay?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay. Talk to you later. There you go. You got your answer. He likes you. He likes you.
I wasn't convinced with that. Yeah. I felt like he shrugged when he said, yeah.
No. I mean, I'm not calling him back. I just hung up on him. Matt Robertson.
And Cox just went right back to what he was doing.
Like, yeah. He's just like, oh.
He'll see me next year and never think twice about it. Cox is the best guy ever. He is awesome. He will show up with one rod and one bait and be like, he'll lose that bait and be like, well, I guess I got to catch him on something else. They only gave me one frog.
I only have one pack of that color.
I only brought one pack of worms.
Tell me about Matt Robertson.
Golly. I wish I could say the conversation we just had on the phone earlier.
Oh God, I wish you could too.
Matt Robertson
would be so much better.
Matt Robertson is settling down. He is
You
settled.
think?
Oh yeah, he is. He is coming into his own. Matt's a genius. That's what I'll call Matt. Matt is really, really smart.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get caught off guard by his, you know what I mean, the way he is, and he loves to. But I think he's one of the smartest dudes out there. I mean, look what he's built in such a short period of time. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and he's built it by being himself.
Oh, it's Matt, and I'm not going to tell all his secrets because he's got his persona to hold up. But you think, oh, Matt's out there pounding beers with Lee, and Matt can drink 2 beers and almost die when he's with me and Caleb. We had to drag him out after 3 beers, but me and Matt actually talk the business side of fishing a lot. We don't ever talk about fishing, but he's really smart. He's built a great brand that's going to be huge, or is huge, and can be huge. So I think this is kind of his breaking year on the business side. I think he's probably about to make a lot of money this year, and in the future, obviously. So good for Matt. Good buddy. He's a good friend.
Well, I think you're going to have a great year yourself, dude. And I've enjoyed our conversation. We've talked about a lot of different things. We bothered John Cock for the phone call. And we did this whole thing without talking about how the fishing industry is an entire dumpster fire. But if I keep saying that, is it okay for me to use that as our title?
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
I mean, we said it a bunch of times. Yeah, I think we're covered. I don't know where else we got to go. What's left? I mean, you want to win a bunch of events. What else in this industry do you want to accomplish other than winning trophies before it's done? What hasn't happened for you in this industry that you would love to have happen?
Nothing on that inside or that side of it. I think just being a good friend and a good person to everybody is where I want to end up. I enjoy everybody. I try to talk to everybody, and there's always going to be an oddball out that doesn't like you. But I think just being a good friend to everybody, because we have a fraternity of anglers and stuff like that. Just reaching out. Some of the guys like Rick Clunn that have reached out and befriended me and stuff that didn't have to over the years that I've been fishing, kind of relaxes you and lets you know, hey, it's okay to be a good guy and be friends with everybody. So just be a good person.
How incredible is it that Rick Clunn's starting his 50th season of competing? Like, I mean, I think everybody is honored by him, is whatever the words you want to choose. Just like, I mean, he's like fishing royalty, but it just amazes me that he's at, like, could you imagine doing this after 50 years?
No, and he still grinds too. Like, he fishes all day, jumps around. It's not like he's out there just wasting time or not practicing. I mean, it's insane. I don't want to fish for 50 years. No, I don't. And it's cool to see. And it was cool to have my very first elite event that I top 10 and he won on the St. John in 2019. That was probably the coolest thing I've seen since being on the elites was when Rick won that one. And that was 5 years ago and he's still fishing. So this will be my 6th year to fish with Rick and enjoy him.
Yeah, he's only up on you 44 years.
Yeah, he's got me tenured for sure. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's doing all kinds of YouTube stuff that's cool. I've started kind of watching some of his just generic talking about Ricos and buzz baits, and just he's got so much history on the first time he ever saw a buzz bait and went and fished with it and stuff like that. So it's cool to hear the history of stuff that Rick's been through, because he's been through it all.
Yeah. He's an amazing man. And you're an amazing friend, dude. I appreciate you for breaking news on the show, and I appreciate you for taking a bunch of time. Oh, I got a rando question for you. You got any tattoos?
0.
Wow. I bet if we did people, were you ever going to get one? Because
never been a thing, but I mean, we can go get tattoos if we need
to. No, I was just wondering. I mean, because I thought about getting one at one time, and it has since turned into the worst. Thank God I didn't. Like, I keep telling my kids, don't make any decisions on tattoos or anything until you're over 25, because at one time, the one tattoo that I wanted to get was like the arm bar of barbed wire or fish
Oh,
hooks, one or the other.
worse.
And I'm like, those are two of the worst tattoos in the history of mankind. I mean, I might as well have got a tramp stamp.
Do you know the Louisiana Sportsman symbol?
The fleur de lis?
Well, no, like Louisiana Sportsman, the magazine
Okay.
that has like the duck, the bass, and the fleur de lis, and it's
Yeah.
all one pinnacle of like 6 different outdoor things.
Yeah.
Do you know who has that tattooed on their lower back?
Well, I want to say Greg Cackney, but it's not, is it?
That would be awesome. He probably does. Just didn't show it off. No other than Caleb Summerall. He has the Louisiana Sportsman logo tattooed on his back.
On his lower back.
Well, it's an upper back, but I'm going to say lower back just to make it more awkward. He will say he did it before them, but I don't believe him.
Oh, so he said that like he came up with the logo and on his own. Yeah, trailblazer.
No tattoos.
I had no idea he had that. But I had no idea you had no tattoos. I don't either. But you're an oddity, dude. Like when you're a senior citizen, you'll be like one of those few people that doesn't have, like, this whole generation is covered, like arm bars, and it's gonna be quite the senior home at one time. But
Measuring tapes.
there is a guy, allegedly a fisherman that. Do you know, I've had that gentleman on the podcast a few times, and we talked about, and I'm not throwing any names out there at all. I mean, I've had a lot of different people on the podcast, but we talked, the night before, and I said, so what are we going to talk about? Just in our goofy little text that we all have. And he said, I almost answered in his voice. I don't want to. He said nothing. He said nothing's off he said, whatever you want to talk about, nothing's off the limits. And I just responded, the tattoo. And he said, which one? And I said, the one. And he said, yeah, we can talk about that. And I was like, so I spent the night before that podcast to throw it out there. I'm sorry. There's a angler that has a tattoo on his part of his body that has a measuring stick. Maybe it's his forearm, maybe it's not. And so I literally worried all night, dude. Like I'm recording with him the next day, and I'm like, is it the right thing to do to, like, it's great for this podcast for him to talk about this, but is it the right thing for him to talk about this? So I was worried all night. And then that morning, right before we recorded, he called and said, hey, let's not talk about that. So I probably already talked about it way too much. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, probably a good move.
Lee Livesay, you never know what we're going to talk about. But thanks for doing this, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it. Shout out to Express. Glad to join the family, and I appreciate you for having me on, and I will see you in a couple months, man.
Yeah, should have brought some champagne or something, pop some corks and made this more official, but
yeah,
that's all we got.
Man.
There you have it, the one and only Lee Livesay, and I thank him for being our guest this week, and I thank him for surprising me with his breaking news. Congratulations to him and everybody involved. But as always, I thank you guys for tuning in. I get it. Again, this was another long one, but as I always say, you can't put a timer on a good conversation, but you can break it up into little bite-sized bits like you did your kids' Halloween candy. Happy Halloween. Have a great week. Enjoy being, and I'll see you next time. Hey, Bob Cobb. Happy Halloween. Can you take it away one more time?
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?